Hey, what's going on, guys? I just want to take time for thank everyone for tuning in to RBC Rebuilding Community Trust. As always, for those who's been tuning in, I know it's been a minute, but thank you for sharing, for subscribing, for leaving comments, for and adding your feedback. And as always, I appreciate y'all taking the time. For those who are new, this is Rebuilding Community Trust, where the site is dedicated to the things in our communities, the politics, the law enforcement, or just education, empowerment of what's going on around us. And I just want to take this time to thank you for tuning in for the first time. As always, www.buildingcommunitytrust.org is the website you can tune into. The materials on there. You can check out merchandise and whatnot. I know it's been a while. I've been in school. It's always still in school, still working on some stuff. Finished another part of my training, and now I'm continuing for the rest of it. So I hopefully have some more free time to tune in and make videos and put out some commentary for different things that I see in the news or I see that's going on in our communities that's affecting us as a whole. And if you like what you hear, just go ahead and subscribe, hit the bell. Real quick, not before you long, I'm going to talk about some stuff I've learned in school, some terms. I know everyone's been looking into the news about what's going on with the eviction moratorium. Supreme Court has been intervening with that and putting their 2 cents and their decisions on, either whether they should discontinue or continue the moratorium. So real quick, some terms. Stare decisis. I'm going to read strict from the definition. The doctrine stating that normally once the court has decided one way on a particular issue in the past, and as other courts in the same jurisdiction will decide the same way on that issue in future cases, given a similar set of facts unless they can be convinced of the need for change. Court, pretty much what it does, the Supreme Court, they look at previous cases or any trial court, district court, appeals court, military court of appeals, any types of level of courts, they go back into the statutory or the federal court laws. For example, if it's something that happens in a state, whether it's, whatever state you're in, they're going to go to their state court. There's statutory laws that are in place to look at for each trial that they're in. If it's the federal Supreme, the Supreme Court, they're going to apply the stare decisis as well. So one of the biggest cases we talk about that's common is Plessy versus Ferguson, or we can talk about Roe versus Wade or Brown versus Board of Education. Those are your stare decisis, where stuff that happened during those times was set in by the Supreme Court. That law was made, was passed due to the fact and circumstances that happened there, and that's how the courts are set. All right, so that's an example of stare decisis. And again, a lot of your trial courts and the court system itself uses prior cases of facts and circumstances. Terry versus Ohio is another one. We have Miranda versus Arizona. There are many examples where these cases are being used to be looked at. All right, and that's also called precedent. Precedent is where cases that were decided as a primary authority that will be used to determine subsequent cases. Similar facts or similar legal issues. So that's your primary authority. So you have your Supreme Court case, you have Code of Federal Regulations, you have your primary authority, and you have your secondary authority. Your secondary authority will consist of all your manuals, your legal encyclopedias. You have LexisNexis, which is a law-based online site, you can call it like a law base for Google for lawyers or whatever. You have a treatise site. I think I'm saying it right, but treatises or treatises, however you say it. There's all types of different publications, legal encyclopedias. I think I've said it already, but there's many other type of secondary sources that you can use. And then you have your primary authority or your primary sources that are precedent. You have your Supreme Court cases. You have a lot of the stuff that's been written by law or even opinions by a judge, or per curiam, which is a unanimous decision of a judge or judges. They come together and make a decision on a case. So that's your primary authority. That's your precedent. So when you sit back and you think how court systems work, a lot of times when a judge, or you have a trial counsel or the defense counsel or your trial counsel or prosecution, they sit back and they use the attorneys. They go to precedent cases or they go to stare decisis. where they have cases that have already been tried, they've been judged already, and these judges or even Supreme Court, when you're going through appeals case, they're going to also do the same thing. They're going to look at precedents, they're going to look at stare decisis, and they're going to see if these cases, whether they're affirmed, whether they're reversed, remanded, or whether they just been overturned. Another term that also I've learned is called where you got another facts or issues that are first impression, right? First impression. So first impression is when a court case or it comes before the judge or the court that has never been seen before. This is a new type of law or a new type of facts and circumstances. And they go by, they trial the case out, they use stare decisis, they use precedents, they try to find a case that matches, and it's a new case they've never seen before. So that's called first impression. And then once that case is tried, whether it's been, whatever the circumstances come out of it, whether the judge, whatever he calls it on, as far as the trial, he's going to put it in precedence. And it's going to become a case where it's a primary authority because of what happened. And then eventually, stare decisis, where it's going to be used for later court cases that come under that same umbrella. So those are some terms that we can use, we can look into, and this is important because this is how the court system works. And I don't know, a lot of people take time to look this stuff up and understand how the government, as far as the judicial system works. But that's how judges and lawyers and trial counsel, defense counsel, even appellate courts, they look at, these type of things. They look at prior casework. They look at what's already been passed before, and they see if it needs to be modified. And then think about how a trial court works. When you're trying out a case, when a case comes before a trial court, whether it's at a local level, it goes to a state Supreme Court, or it goes to a district court, which is federal. This is when you're going through the state, they're going to look at all the facts. They're going to look at all the facts, and they're going to see if something that before happened, the same thing. They're going to determine the evidence. They're going to go through all whatever the situations goes before the trial courts, and they're going to look at it and say, does any court case or precedents take place? And if so, they're going to use that as a guide to determine whether this case is going to fall in the same umbrella. And then they're going to go from there. Not every case is going to be the same, so they can't assume that every case is going to be the same type of result. But they can use the court cases to set the precedents. People need to understand that. Excuse me. Because when we sit in trial and we understand how the court system works, a lot of people may have some type of feelings about how stuff is done. But when you look at the court case and you go back and you actually read, you can go to Justia. There's many sites you can look up that's law libraries, and you sit down and just go through the courts and go through the cases that are being shown. If you want to, it's a particular type of case that you want to look into, go look at that case up and look at what happened during those times, what happened during that trial, and see the result. And then you look at the cases that come up under there, whether it's dealing, for example, Terry versus Ohio, stop and frisk, that concept of stopping and frisking people based off, a reasonable suspicion of a crime. You're using people's consent aspect to frisk, or you might have some sort of probable cause, or where you feel like you may, in that area, if one person, if that area is a high trafficking area of drugs, every person that walks through there, you're going to stop and frisk them based because of the area they're in. That's an example of stop and frisk versus having PC and going in there and, okay, I got a reason to search him and pull out whatever. But if you just patting people down or frisking just to get something out of them because you're there in a certain type of area, that's in a sense of discrimination. So that's an example of what went to the courts, and they saw that as unconstitutional because you violated the Fourth Amendment. So, and that's a precedent's case. So now you can't, you can't really do that now. So when someone has a similar situation, they're going to go and reference Terry versus Ohio. So that's kind of like tying in example wise when it comes to using precedents and stare decisis. So now when we think about the eviction moratorium and how that applies as well, when we think about COVID-19, we think about what's the COVID-19 Relief Act and stuff that's being passed. Basically, the moratorium is being prohibited to use ban, like, for example, the evictions. Realtors and landlords are trying to evict or, in a sense, keep people away from their homes due to the financial burden that COVID-19 has placed on everyone, due to them losing their jobs, the lockdown standards that was put put on around, early 2020. So now you got, people, these landlords are trying to get people evicted, and the courts are stepping in, and they're really, hashing down on a per curiam, which again was, unanimous decision by a judge or judges, an agreement, basically saying that this is unconstitutional, and we're going to extend this moratorium further to protect the citizens, protect residents from their homes, and due to COVID-19 until this, this disease has been curtailed, right? And as of right now, it's continuing to rise in certain states. Right. So then you're going to go back, eventually going to go back to a certain level where it might be some lockdown procedures, jobs may, cut down, due to the numbers rising, people may be losing their jobs. So, then again, government's going to have to assist in keeping people from being evicted from their homes. So in New York, I know it's a real big thing right now with the moratoriums right now. And, we had the government get involved in certain aspects, and it's causing, just causing some tension, among landlords and some of the states and local ordinances and things when it comes to realtors and dealing with, the housing market or whatever the case may be. And, you have different opinions and legal opinions put on. I'm reading an article. Justice Kavanaugh concurred with this eviction moratorium. This is affirmed and concurred. Excuse me. Explaining that they agreed with the district court of the CDC's moratorium exceeded the statutory authority, and that because the CDC planned to end the moratorium in only a few weeks, and because at the time will allow the additional and more orderly distribution of Congress appropriated rental assistance funds, he concluded that the balance of equities justified leaving the stay in place. Justice Thomas Alito Gorsuch, I can't pronounce his name, butchering his name, and Justice Barrett noted that they will vacate the stay. So they had their different opinions. They had some would keep it there, and some was trying to get rid of it. So they had to be an unanimous decision on this one. And it was just all, tracing back to 2020, where they originally did the eviction moratorium, but now, it's been extended due to the COVID Relief Act, and then it got extended again due to the pandemic continued to go into Delta variant, and the moratorium expired on July 31st. And the CDC was putting this moratorium in place for the sensitive virus, but also for helping those who were dealing with evictions, even in that. But the CDC is not the primary authority or the statutory authority to make those decisions. So that's what is causing the tension. But when you think of the Supreme Court and how they get involved, that's kind of using, in a sense, their power to reveal, to have an appeal, to look at this in a clearer sense and make a more, I guess, accurate legal opinion on what it should be as far as this moratorium. But, looking at, other different casework, and also looking at that's been presented by the district courts and using the appellate courts, and then they're going by all of that and they're reviewing the case for themselves, then they're going to make a legal opinion. So once this legal opinion is set by these judges, right, these justices, in a sense, right, then it may become stare decisis or precedent, depending on what it said. So now if something happens later down the pipeline and something similar, we have another pandemic of some sort, or if the pandemic continues to go on with COVID, then you have something that's in place to go by. If say there's another moratorium issue in another state or another region, then they can have this to be their precedent case when it goes to trial. So all this stuff kind of ties in. I just kind of want to give a very basic gist of how this stuff works. And I think we need to all have a basic working knowledge of how courts work if you're not already understanding how it works. But you got to know your levels. I think I've done a video on, different types of courts. You have your federal circuit, your DC circuit courts. You have your state Supreme Court, what is that, a state Supreme level. You have your local courts, magistrate courts. You have your trials. You have different, versions of courts. So each time when the case is presented in front of them, we got to understand how it works. Your appellate courts, they look at facts, they look at law, some look at one, they look at the other. But you got to understand the roles of appellate courts and what they do. And what they do. They affirm, remand, reverse. Do they all do all three? Do they just do one? It just depends, right? Depends on each case and how it works out when they sit back and they look at the facts. They look at what happened. Was the case trial court? Did they do everything correctly? Did they, make sure the defendant's rights were protected? Did they make sure that wasn't no violation of the Constitution in a sense. They look at these things and then they reverse it, they remand it, or they affirm it. So that's just kind of how it works. I just kind of want to, like I said, give a basic gist. As I've been learning, going down and learning different things, different concepts of the law and how it works and how, it comes into play. It's just some interesting things in the news, and how does the Supreme Court play their role along with everything else. So I just want to kind of put that out there. I'm not going to be before you very long. If you got any comments you want to add, you want to maybe ask questions, that feel free to leave comments. But I want to kind of touch on that a little bit. And as things unfold and things piece together, I might do a couple of videos to supplement what I'm already saying. But again, I want to just do a basic working knowledge on stare decisis and precedent and per curiam, which are all Latin terms. Understanding how the courts work when it comes to looking at cases. They look at prior cases and they kind of look at it. And when they feel like society is changed, or, that law is kind of outdated in a sense and it doesn't apply, then they can go and overrule and make it something else. That's the power of the Supreme Court to do that. They can go in and make the changes. When there's many laws that's outdated, that doesn't apply anymore to society, and they have a right to make those changes to see fit when it comes to adjusting to the times and the change of culture of society during the time. So that's all I have. I want to just do that real quick. Again, if you have any questions, if you have anything you want to add, if you feel like I'm not saying it correctly or whatever the case may be, feel free to leave your comments, leave your questions. I'm going to try to be more frequent on this channel. I've been, like I said, been in school, been real busy, trying to do what I need to do. So much going on. And so I haven't really been posting on the channel, but I want to kind of get back and doing it and posting some good material. If you have any requests or things you want to know, definitely leave in the comments. So that's all I have. Pray for those families of the Afghanistan, the Marines that lost their lives. I think it's one. I don't want to say the number because I don't want to get it wrong, but it was the Marines and the sailor, a corpsman, that lost their lives. And I wanted to definitely keep the families in prayer. Pray for the comfort that is to those families, and definitely, pray for our military that they're constantly serving all over the world. So no matter what branch you're in, let's continue to keep our military in prayers, and just pray for those families that lost a loved one during this time in Afghanistan. And let's just continue to keep pushing on that. That's all I have. I want to relay any longer. Love you guys. Thank you for tuning in. Those who've been supporting the channel, as always, thank you. Continue to share, subscribe, continue to push the material out, and let's continue to learn and empower each other in our communities. All right, y'all, be blessed. Take care.